Welcome back to BlackBerry Glen. I am thrilled to have you guys here. As I've been promising, I've been saying I was going to share a video of the design tool we use for designing our home. And the tool I'm about to share with you, this isn't meant to be a tutorial on how to use it. That's not the intention here. I just want to share with you that how using a tool like this really helps you in your design process. Now, there's probably many tools on the market you could use that do what I'm about to show you. I just happened to find this one called Cedreo. It was probably the first one I looked at, and it was very inexpensive to purchase, and decided to go ahead and use it. I think if I remember a year or so ago, they even let you try it for free initially, but then to purchase it to be able to, was maybe $100, something like that, like to do it. Maybe it was a little bit more, but it was very inexpensive relative to the whole design process of what it costs. Now, I didn't use this by myself from the standpoint I'm designing the home from scratch myself. I use this as a way to initially come up with some basic floor plans to then hand over to an architect. And then that architect obviously took that initially and started designing the home. And then every time the architect would give us a set of plans, they would come up with their ideas and share them back with us. I would then take those plans and I would use this tool I'm about to show you to model it. I would build out the walls. And now what you're going to see today is hundreds of hours of work to get it to the place where it's got the colors and the design and all this stuff. But initially, it was just simply blank walls. That's all we were doing, is looking at just some blank walls. And what this tool lets you do is walk through the space. To virtually walk through it, I imagine you could probably use it in VR goggles. I'm going to guess it would work with that. I don't know for sure, but and it gives you a sense of what does the room layout feel like. And to me, this was a game changer because seeing it on paper, yeah, you get some ideas around it. You can kind of visualize it depending how good you are at visualizing things. But to actually see it in a model work is very straightforward. And I'll just give you a brief mention that to learn how to use this, it didn't take a lot. If you're familiar with using any painting program or Photoshop, or you're used to using Excel spreadsheets or whatever, you're used to that kind of interface, using a tool like this is just as simple. Again, this isn't meant to be a tutorial on how to do things per se, but if I was to go to the layout section here, I can click on that, and this is where you lay out your walls, and you put in all your walls. Here, I can remove the roof for a moment, so you can get a sense of a layout. And then there's a place for wall openings where you do your doors and windows, and then you could design a roof, and you could add furnishings and different types of colors and materials, and literally, you can get super advanced with this. If all you want to do is lay out the walls so that you could walk through the space to see what that felt like, that alone is worthwhile doing. Now, that's what I initially did. But eventually, you get to a place where well, what about the furniture? How about, where does the furniture go? And do we want to go ahead and move a window? And I will tell you, in the process of using the tool, there were hundreds of adjustments that we made, everything from the standpoint of where the windows are placed and how big a window is, and etc. Literally, there's no end in sight of what you can do. So I thought I'd give you a quick, so you can see a visualization as I do the other YouTube videos, and I talk about different things. Seeing this will help you visualize what we're talking about. If you've watched my past videos, oftentimes I'll enter the entrance, I'll usually park and walk along this pathway here, and you'll see that's the pathway. So let me kind of zoom in down here. All right, so I'm at a perspective now where I'm walking at eye level. And if you've watched past videos, oftentimes I pointed off to the right here saying, oh, there's going to be a pond back in here. Well, that's kind of this area here. And as I come up the driveway, let's pull up here. You see me make this walk numerous times. And currently, as we pull up and the driveway goes up to the left, we approach the home. And this is what I refer to as a friend's entrance. As we come up to the side here, which we're actually facing here, is the side of the house. And it's not common to approach a home from the side, but that's the way this land was laid out for us to orient. We wanted to orient the back of the home in a certain sun direction. And with the way things laid out, that's the way it turned out. We were approaching it from the side. So this is a side entrance. Down below here is a garage. Upstairs here is master suite or primary suite, and bathroom, etc. And as we come up around the driveway, come up around here, And again, I'll point out as a tool, being able to lay out like designs of brick. Now, these aren't going to be the final colors. This is all just, representation. But to lay out, brick designs, to lay out, where the windows are and how big the windows are, all of that stuff. I'm going to let you know, we went through dozens and dozens of combinations of things, and it's such a useful tool to be able to do this and really get a feel for the way the home's going to be. Now, as I come up around the front of the house, this will be the front. And even just as of yesterday or the day, yeah, yesterday, we made some more changes. For example, the front door we're going to go with is vastly different than what we originally planned. We originally planned a rectangular door, and it was going to have windows around the top and around the sides. And even as just as soon as yesterday, we made a change to that. Here we are, over a year to the project, and we realized, you know what, we want to simplify the front entrance. I'm going to change perspective here into more of a zoomed out, where we kind of fly around the property now. So now, as you go around the property, so now here's the back. And again, in the live videos, you've seen me do this before, where I'm kind of in the back showing here's the garage and the basement area. And you get a sense now where we have this patio that's covered, and around on the other side. One of the things I just mentioned in the video, there's another video that I just did recently that I was talking about the air conditioning units, where I said, hey, down below here, you'll see we have a retaining wall where AC units are going to kind of be hidden down here. And there really wasn't another place to put them. Well, typically when you put these things, you're going to put them on the side of the house where the garage is, and the way we laid out the house, there really isn't a place that was, you could put the AC units that it wasn't, staring at you in the face, right? You don't typically want them, you're looking out your window and you're looking at them. You might think, oh, we're going to put AC units over here by the garage, but we have windows over here off the kitchen looking out their direction. So a lot of these things you don't, you got to think about. And, of course you can do it on paper, but to be able to see it in a 3D model like this is so much easier. Now, if you're watching this, you're wondering, how do I do all this stuff? This took, let me just start by saying I didn't know how to do this at all from scratch. I taught myself this just watching some of the training videos, and then just taking in baby steps, which is, let's lay out walls. Great, that was easy. Now that I got walls in, how do I put windows in? How do I put doors in? Oh, that was easy. Okay, how do I design the roof? That wasn't too hard to do. And you just do one piece at a time. And then it's like, okay, well, let's talk about different textures to put on things. And now let's talk about rain gutters, and let's talk about railings and whatever. And the more you design it in advance, I will tell you this, the more energy you put into and time you put into designing it, the easier it's going to be to make your decisions later, and the less money it'll cost you later on fixing mistakes. Because as I learned that if you want to change things once it's built, it's obviously going to cost money to make those changes. It doesn't cost you any money to do it here in a digital world. So, and it's kind of fun. If you're into computer games, or I'm not a computer gamer, but if you're into computers and you have any creative talents, it's not too hard to do this stuff. So the program makes it really easy. I would encourage you to use it as a tool. If I want to show you interior, let me just show you, for example, if I remove the roof here, let's go to ground floor. And if I want to take off the roof, now I can actually see how all of the place lays out, right? I can see, if I want to zoom in, I can see, for example, here's the foyer. Here's the main living space. Here's kitchen, dining room. So you really get a sense of how everything lays out. And my favorite thing about doing this is, yeah, it's one thing to have a perspective like this, to be able to, like a dollhouse, you're kind of looking at it. And of course, I can go to the basement and take that floor off. And now I can see how the basement looks and how the basement was laid out, etc. So it's a really cool tool from that standpoint. But my favorite thing, quite frankly, about it is, if I close it all back up and I now want to walk through the property, this is really where you get a sense. If I go onto the main floor, the ground floor, and here we are, you could even put people in it and make them real, human sizes, like this person, this guy here is 5'7". That's how tall I am. So it gives you a sense of, how will I fit in this house? Or my wife, this woman outside here, I made all the ladies 5'1", because that's what my wife's height is, right? So 5'1", how does she how does she look relative to the house, right? And you can do that with cars and all kinds of things. Um, but what happens now when you start designing a home this way and you can walk through it, man, do you really get a sense of how things lay out and where you want to move things. So not necessarily giving you a total, necessarily give you a whole tour of the house here, but you'll see as a tool how great of a tool it is to be able to see, okay, is the window the right size? Could it be bigger? Could it be taller, etc. And like, for example, even when I worked with our window supplier, I ended up making probably 7 or 8 rounds of changes after, like, oh yeah, these are done. And then we go back and look, oh no, we didn't change this one. And we're even to this moment, we have one more window we're waiting on measuring the final size of because we decided to make, let me show you, if I go into the garage, the main floor garage here, and we go, here's a laundry room, and I go out this door to the garage, we decided to vault the ceiling. Originally, it was a flat ceiling. And we were like, well, we have a window up here and we have these windows in a dormer. And originally, it was going to be an attic. But quite frankly, we don't need an attic in the garage because we have plenty of attic space other places. So we said, well, why don't we vault that ceiling, which we decided to do. So we're now waiting to hear how tall will the ceiling be in here. And that height will help us determine, do we need to change the height of this window? How would you know that otherwise, right? I mean, unless I suppose you could, but testing it out in the computer model, it's so much easier to see it. So again, being able to walk through the space, to me is a game changer, everything from the standpoint of, your laundry room, etc. And it's fun, if you are creative in any sense whatsoever, and you have the patience to be able to design your home, to be able to walk through, and you can change the furnishings and the chandeliers and however your designs are. What you're seeing here is not how it started. The home started vastly different. And it now has, it's changed a lot. I guess all I gotta say is just by spending time in the property, literally virtually living inside of it, going back to the master suite here, that's going to be back in this area. For example, we didn't have windows here before. We decided to have windows. So there's all kinds of things you end up doing as a result of having it on a computer model to really help you think through. And I will tell you that when I was working with the architect, we're done with the architect, but when we were working with them, every time they gave me updates, we would modify the plan, modify the digital, what you see here, and make sure it's right. And it was able to give us, give the feedback and go back and forth. And if I had ideas, I would be able to just screen capture it or record a quick video, just like I'm doing right now, and send it off to the architect, and they would make the changes. And eventually we ended up with the final plans. But even with the plans finalized and we're off and running to an off and running building, there's still been modifications even since then. And that's just a result of the creative process going on, assuming you have a builder you're working with that's, it allows you to make those kind of changes, which I should say should be a no-brainer and should be a given for you to be able to do. And, putting out, trees and landscaping and cars and people and all that stuff, just to give it a sense of perspective, at least for me personally, is really a valuable tool. For example, I'm putting my pickup truck here with a trailer behind it. Now, I don't have a motorhome like this, but I have a trailer for a car, and I want to make sure that everything fits on here as an example. So with that being said, it's just a really fun exercise tool to use. And again, this company, the product I'm using is called Cedreo. You can see their logo up here. I think they're actually, I'm not even sure where it's developed. The way the program works, it looks like it's something you purchase, you have a subscription to it, and it's a one-time fee. At least when I paid, it was a one-time fee, and you can design projects. I think the fee I paid allows you to design one single project. I think you pay a larger fee if you want to be able to design multiple projects. I'll give you a little cheat code. To do multiple projects just simply means you have multiple files, like you'd have multiple Word documents, right? Multiple files to represent this. What I come to learn, and I found this out on accident, is when you click and save this, it's going to save it to their system, so it's stored in the cloud. But you could store a copy of it on your local hard drive. All you got to do is disconnect your computer from the internet, literally unplug it from the internet or disconnect your Wi-Fi and hit the save button, and it'll then give you an option to save the file to your local computer. So now you have a copy on your local computer. So once you have that, if you wanted to modify it again and then save it to the cloud, you can make as many versions as you want, and each time you save it to your hard drive, you can name it a new file name, and you can make as many different versions you want. And I've done that where there's points in time where I want to take a snapshot of what I've done because I want to make a bunch of changes, but I'm not sure I want to keep them. So I'll save a version to my computer. And the way, again, I do that is I just disconnect my computer from the internet, hit the save button. It'll ask me, do you want to save it to your desktop or your computer? I say, yes, I do. And then I hook it back to the internet and I make all my changes. And if I'm happy with it, I just move on. But if I need to roll back to what I had in the past, I can just re-upload what I had on my desktop. And that's pretty easy to do. So that was a great way of being able to make backup files of this program, Cedreo, to my local computer. So I hope you found that helpful. And again, I encourage you to do it. And if you're designing a home or building it, congratulations. It's a fun process. We've been at this now going on probably a year and a half. We broke ground, as if you've been watching, probably 5-6 months ago, I guess it was. Took a year to design, and still going through the process. So click the subscribe button, hit that notification bell button if you want to see future videos on the Blackberry Glen, East Tennessee home that we're building. And thanks for watching.